Hey folks, it's Jeff from Dead Drift. I'm on a little hike this morning. Loaded up my pack with about, I think it's like a 45-pound weight vest. And I'm running the actual pack that I'll be using this year. Just to kind of make sure I've got things dialed in. I used it a little bit in January to kill a nice mule deer out west from where I'm at now, and packed it out in that. At least the head and the antlers. The everything else went out on a buddy's Polaris Ranger, which was just the smarter way to do things given where we were at, and plus we had access to some dirt roads and a decent wash that made the most sense. But so right now it's 20 after 6 on Friday the 29th of March. The hike this morning has been full of a lot of self-reflection. I'm not far from the car. I'm working within the confines of the area that I'm at, which is bordered on all four sides. It's mildly restrictive, but it gives me the opportunity at least to get out here where it's quiet, get up a little high, watch the sunrise, which is therapeutic all by itself. But this morning's hike has been introspective. My heart is a little bit heavy this morning. So Col Mark Smith was my battalion commander back in 2004 and 5. He's a Marine Corps colonel who led 2nd Battalion, 24th Marines. The H&S company was out of Chicago, Illinois. And then the line companies were spread all over the place. There was one, I think there was another one in Illinois. There was one out of Iowa, one out of Wisconsin, maybe two out of Wisconsin. Regardless, he led our battalion to and from combat for OIF 2-2, and we were there from September of 04 until I want to say it was April of 05. Yeah. So the reserve battalions are full of a lot of different personalities, a lot of cats and dogs that come from all walks of life. And not surprisingly, reserve units, I think probably across all branches of service, are filled with cops. I'm one of them. A number of my Marines were, and Colonel Smith was. He worked for the Indiana State Police. And I don't know what his rank or position or job duty was as an Indiana State Trooper, but whatever. He's one of our brothers in blue, and because of that, people like me give him the benefit of the doubt from the very beginning, because that's our culture, and that's how we survive day to day on the job, and then in our personal lives and how we interact with each other. So Colonel Smith was my brother in more ways than one. We were both born out of the Marine Corps. He was enlisted before he became an officer, which makes him a little unique. And so he was our fearless leader. Mayhem 6 was his call sign. At any rate, Colonel Smith passed away this morning, or possibly late last night, early this morning, whatever. I got the news. We knew he was in the hospital. We knew he wasn't doing super well, that things had taken a turn for the worse yesterday. And then this morning, when I got in here and started walking, I got the text message to say that he had passed away this morning. So it seemed fitting for me to stop, pause a little bit, to reflect a little on what he did for us, what kind of man he was. He was very outspoken, highly opinionated. The epitome of being both a policeman and a Marine, and specifically a leader of Marines. Someone in that position needs to be strong in their beliefs, in their convictions. And he was about as assertive as you can get. At times, yeah, he was an asshole. But who isn't? But at any rate, he took all of us. He took 3 line companies, a weapons company, and a headquarters and service company over to what was then called the Triangle of Death area south of Baghdad, and we dominated that area. We relieved another Marine Corps unit, an active duty Marine Corps unit out of Lejeune that was rotating out. And then we occupied that same area of operations for the next 7 months, 8 months, before we rotated out and gave it back to some U.S. Army unit that, we're all on the same team, and I have a ton of respect for the guys that I've been in contact with who are U.S. Army veterans, but I gotta say it's a little offensive when I see female soldiers walking around with their hair done, smelling like they just came out of a perfume shop and talking on a cell phone, when for the last 7 months, the only cell phone I saw was hardwired to a explosive that was dug into the ground, and nobody smelled good. And maybe that's just the difference between the Marine Corps and the Army, or one of them. I don't want to sound arrogant about this, because it's not my intent, but I think there's etiquette in everything. And waltzing onto a Marine Corps base smelling like a French whore and yapping away on fucking whatever. Anyway, getting off topic. The focus is Mark Smith and his legacy. I don't know enough about him personally to go into a great amount of detail. I will leave that to somebody who's more appropriate to say something like that. But I will say that Colonel Smith, to say he did his job would be an understatement. He took care of us for our entire deployment. We came home with a minimal number of Marines killed in action, and we all came home safely and successfully, and we were there for the country's very first democratic election, which was a huge threat when it occurred and hugely successful when it was over. Now, whether or not that success can be pointed to today, I don't know. But this was 2004, and right now it's 2019. And it's hard to believe that it's been that long, but it has, and I don't expect that things are the same there as when we left them, for better or worse. I don't know. I have no desire to return to that country to find out. However, if I had a glass of whiskey, Mark, I would raise it to you now. And I sure as hell will do that this evening. But publicly, thank you for your unwavering and incredibly steadfast leadership, because you brought us home. And you lived up to your word to our families and our wives and our children, our friends, our workplaces, our commitment to the Marine Corps, to our country. And we got done what we needed to get done in North Babel Province effectively and efficiently under your leadership. So thank you very much. Godspeed to you. I know for certain I will see you again. And thank you for everything you've done. You're a good man, and you're someone to be counted on. So, with that said, the sun is rising. And even here overlooking Phoenix, with the dust, the constant dust in the air, and the smog of a sprawling metropolis laid out before me like a huge blanket, the sunrise is gorgeous. I think it's quite nice. Anyhow, folks, get outside and take this time for yourself, because it's important. And even the strongest of men need these kinds of things and these moments to ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that, and it says nothing about, well, it says a ton about who you are and about your character. But we owe this time to ourselves to not only reflect on things personally to make us better personally, but also to pay respects and really give some deep thought, much more than just a passing thought, for those that matter to us. This morning for me, it's Col Mark Smith. But I want to encourage you to do this yourself. Anyhow, thank you for tuning in and thank you for listening. If you have any questions or any comments, please direct them to me, jeff@deaddriftconsulting.com, and you can visit our website, deaddriftconsulting.com. But thanks for listening, and we will see you again soon.